I don't know how much you've had to do with Hughesy over the journey, Damo.
A little bit.
No man more passionate about football than the Carlton Football Club. So he's wandered in today still talking about a squared ball that cost the Blues the game.
And the umpires? And the umpires?
No, it wasn't. No, it's not the umpires. I did, a couple of years ago, I had to, Ray Chamberlain, Razor Ray.
A little razor, yeah.
So, I used to, and Ray knows this, I used to hate Ray, as a lot of people did. He knows this. But then he got me to do one of his mental health charity nights. Yes. And I got to know Ray, and I really like Ray.
Oh, he's a beauty.
He's a beauty. So, but after Carlton got beaten by Collingwood in the last round, not last year, but the year before. Yeah, I had to ring Ray, and I had to send him some clips from the game.
I had to ring Ray.
What's your decision? And Ray was
Ray made the decisions, or you're asking? Had Ray the decisions?
No, Ray hadn't made the decisions. He had nothing to do with that game.
But you wanted him to give.
I wanted his. I said, just be honest. Just be honest, Ray. Yeah. And look, he did say, they're all fair decisions. I didn't like what he said.
I worked, was it 1 or 2 years with Hughesy?
On the footy show.
Fair to say it wasn't at its strongest point in that particular period of time, was it, Hughesy? It was, it was on the down, wasn't it?
Look, it was still a lot of fun, though.
It was fun.
It was a lot of fun. A lot of pressure, though, wasn't there?
Where are we at the moment?
There was issues, but there was some of them.
I like it. I like it.
I mean, we had tough fun.
Well, speaking of under the pump,
yes.
Where are we at with Luke Beveridge and what's going on with the Western Bulldogs?
Yeah, it's hard to know exactly what they're doing. I think there's mixed messaging coming out of that footy club in terms of what Amit Baines, the CEO, Jim, said more than a year ago about his expectations on there being a top 4 outcome for that footy club, and that didn't even transpire to a finals outcome last year. Started this year again with more expectation, Hughesy, and it's just is not transpiring that way for them. The loss on the weekend yesterday to Hawthorn was really bad. So 3-5 scoreline. The wins they've had have come against Gold Coast, West Coast, and they got St Kilda on a low night as well. Lost to Melbourne, Geelong, Essendon, Fremantle, and Hawthorn. And I think there's enough people in footy telling us all that there is enough good players on that list to be a far better performed team to this point.
So what do they do? I mean, for me, when they play well, they play really well. What their best is capable of beating anybody.
Yeah.
It's just the regular production of that will be frustrating the coach.
Let's listen to it through Luke Beveridge's eyes, Jim. Now, he has got a contract that runs until the end of next year, and the club, I think, rightly backed him in for that point. Now, people can have their views. I've had my views on Luke, but I felt Hughesy, he'd done enough after 7 completed seasons, after 2021. Still, at the stage they recontracted him, to have made 2 grand finals. Now, the last 2 seasons at this stage are not going well, but post-match yesterday, this is what he had to say.
Only you guys can dictate the narrative. We know that unless you're winning games of footy, you're always vulnerable to media scrutiny, and so we just expect it. It's the nature of the industry. As I've said before, I've got a thick skin, I can deal with it, but I won't let it affect the way that I care for and manage the playing group.
So Luke Darcy's the football director on the board, and you know him, Jim, as well as anyone, and equally we at Triple M know him. He's not going to be one to back away from the commitment they've made to him. So any talk about is the future of Luke Beveridge going to be decided within season, I'd be highly doubtful that that's the case. So I just cannot see a way that he doesn't coach right through, at the very least, until the end of this season. And the way he prepares, Luke Beveridge, he will still be thinking at 3-5, this season is retrievable.
Absolutely.
Now, I think other people have genuine views on that, and I do too. I didn't tip them for what it's worth to make the 8, but at 3-5, I think they've got a real battle on their hands.
I was there last night, or late yesterday afternoon, and I was at the top of just general admission. And there's no bad seat at Marvel Stadium, by the way. There's no bad seat there.
There is not.
But you could see, I'm not an expert, but do they have too many tall forwards? I mean, with Jamara coming back in, and you've got, is it Sam?
Aaron Norton there, Sam Darcy, who's going to be anything, you think. Yeah, it could be one of the problems they've got, and there's a stubbornness
all good
to
in their
Beveridge.
own way, but all to get too many together.
Well, it's a huge game this weekend. They play the Tigers.
Yeah,
so they don't want to be dropping those.
Not to a team that's 1-7. Just jumping around a couple of topics, the Brisbane Lions have now got 5 players on their current books with ACL damage, and the latest 2 were Link McCarthy and Darcy Gardner, who went down early yesterday. They had their names on that ACL list to Will Ashcroft, to Kadeem Coleman and Tom Doedee, who hadn't even get to play a game for the footy club. It's a lot.
It
Now, they have occurred at the Gabba, these incidents.
You're reading something into the...
Well, it's a question
So did
that
Doherty,
has to
Sam
be asked.
Doherty's.
Now, Kadeem Coleman's, you called the game, I think, for 7. Now, that was in a kicking motion, so
Yeah,
I
it
think
was.
you almost take that out.
Hyperextended,
You
that
take
was
that
it.
out. But same game, Doherty went down in the same game, opening round this year with a knee. So I just know, though, the way footy clubs work. I'd be surprised if they said anything publicly too strongly about this, but we know the way they dot I's and cross T's, particularly when this is happening. They'd have to ask the question of themselves.
But is it a surface issue? I only ask you this because I've done a couple of games up there, and the surface is magnificent.
Yeah, I would
Better
agree.
than it's ever been.
It's just a strange... Look, it might just be the greatest coincidence of all time, but no other club's got 5 at the moment.
No,
and
that makes
if you throw
winning hard.
Doherty in, and again, take Coleman out of it because that was the kicking motion that someone came across his body. So... But still, it's a lot. It's a big number. And then you've got the wonderful story that part of their injuries yesterday, because we saw Starcevic taken out of the game before it even started with soreness. Answorth cop a head knock. They were down to only one rotation. Logan Morris came in, having played in the VFL that day. It was driving to the ground. You probably caught up with this, Husey. Bought the Angus meal deal at McDonald's. Threw a 6 nuggets in as well. Got to the ground.
And a frappe.
Got to the ground, had some of the soup that all players can have if they want, and then was told, hey, you're going to go play. And ran another 10K in the game, in his debut game. 4 shots at goal for 1-3.
Well, Macca's, they do ads with AFL players, don't they?
do.
There's your next ad.
It's good for you.
Historically, you get fed in it.
How well's he gone?
24 nuggets, $9.95. It's unbelievable at the moment, by the way.
He only got the 6, I think he said. And he's gratefully not the 12 on top of the burger and the chips and the Coke.
That famously happened. I reckon it was to a Geelong player years ago.
Tony Armstrong.
Yeah, he was
when he was playing for Collingwood.
Yeah. He was eating a hamburger, wasn't he, or a hot dog in the stands.
Yeah, he had
and then
Macca's
got
as well.
called down.
I think it was part of Favola's pre-match routine.
Yeah.
He
He kicked thousands of goals. All right, more. It's a 3-segmenter.
Yep.
A triple threat.
Yeah.
Actually,
right.
before we do, though, I need to raise something with you. Someone's had a go at you in the last half an hour.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Join the queue.
And I'm just getting the audio teed up.
As
A
Sam
big
used to
name?
say it.
A
ends
very
in
big
Darwin.
name, Husey. Someone that's as big as it gets. And Jim's annoyed him.
Now, Purple, I like this. You've gone a bit rogue on us. You just brought agenda items in.
Well, there are. Have you caught up with the fact there's 2 Friday night games
I have.
this week?
Why is that?
It's because of Mother's Day being on Sunday
Okay, right.
and the lack of attendance historically on that day. So they've now brought one forward. So you've got Geelong versus Port Adelaide and Fremantle v Sydney.
Yeah.
There's a crossover of times, but there's 2 on the Friday and then there's only 2 on the Sunday as
What
opposed to
time-
normal 3.
What time is the early Friday game starting?
Early Friday is at 7:10, which is earlier than normal,
Which
half
is
an hour
a good
earlier than
starting
normal.
time, by the way.
It's good for you
I like it.
on the broadcaster.
You're in
that mean
Geelong, though.
Oh, that's the bad bit. But the good bit is that it's just
And then
earlier.
the one in Perth will start 6:30 local time, 8:30 Melbourne time.
Yeah, do you think is there a possibility we'll end up with 2 Friday night games going forward in some future deal?
I would doubt that.
Is
I
it?
would doubt it from a marquee slide and wanting to give the focus
I'm looking
to
at
it.
the AFL website here. It says 6:40 p.m. That can't be right. What's ACST?
That's Adelaide time.
Oh, my God. 6:40 is too early.
Yeah, well,
We don't need to be bloody still light. We don't need
I
any
think you need to
lights down
update
there.
your clock on that machine, Jim. Crowd, just another
It's
one.
telling you that you are. It thinks you're in Adelaide.
It does. How's that? But it's got the right time on my bloody computer. I don't understand. Keep going.
Anyway,
David.
crowds through the roof. Another record
Yes.
round for the 3rd time this year, 400,000
Amazing.
plus. Tassie team, whatever opposition literally was left, that being the opposing political party, the Labor Party, has signed off on the approval for the stadium if and when it gets off and running. But that was a potential stumbling block which
Nice.
has been removed.
So now it's going to be built. We just don't know.
Well,
when.
when are we going to turn the first sod? It's more than a year, or it's about a year since it was officially announced, and nothing has happened physically.
When is the team meant to start? Whether they start at the existing grounds?
When
or-
they announced that Husey was going to be 2028 as a possibility, I'd be surprised if it was
right.
ready for 2028. And the stadium will not be ready for 2028.
So, but they can play in the existing stadiums as a team.
they could
prior
do
to
that. Yeah. If the stadium was going to be 1 to maximum 2 years away from that point, they would probably
Right.
still look to start in 2028. But I think with every passing day, without a sod being turned, without a CEO being appointed, and Brendan Gale is still expected to be that person. Let's get to some footy.
Yep.
I just loved what Nick Daicos has done, obviously to this point of his career, but what he's done in the last 3 to 4 weeks has just got better every single week. A 0-3 start to the year. They were on the back foot. They were lethargic. They couldn't work out what was going on, but they just returned to their basics basically from round 4 onwards, or their 4th game onwards, and have not lost since. The draw to Essendon is part of that 5-match sequence, and their win against Carlton on the Friday night just gone was as good a performance as they've had at any stage of, I feel anyway, Craig McRae's time at the club. So they're back. It's just they started with a 0-3 scoreline, which will be problematic at some stage, but not if they continue to play the way they did on that night. And he's back to his absolute best. I love what Dane Zorko did last night for the Lions. They just needed someone to stand up amongst all that adversity with injury that we just discussed. I thought Josh Dunkley's role also on Matt Rowell primarily and other parts of that game were great as well.
But the Suns were pathetic. I thought they were really ordinary. There still feel like there's an issue with the Suns that they
just don't win matches they're not expected to win. And there's not many of them. They just continue to meander through. Chris Fagan last night, he cops a lot of heat, I feel, at times. And I've critiqued it, as others have, for the lack of, I suppose, being adventurous within a game and preparation for it. But he backs his man. And I think he had reason to be really happy as he was last night.
It's one of the more amazing and courageous wins. Well, I think it's the most amazing and courageous win I've ever seen, to be honest, by any group of players that I've had anything to do with. And I'm just so proud of them. They're out on their feet. It just shows a great deal of character, and it'll go down in our club as one of our greatest ever wins, is what I believe. I don't think you can look at it in any other way.
You can get caught up in emotion, can't you? But it's a big statement.
That is, well, especially when you look at it on paper, it's a home win against the Gold Coast Suns, who haven't played a final in their history.
Yep.
So you're not taking on Geelong, who are undefeated, and finding a way to beat them.
But you're going in with a 2-5 scoreline and another loss, basically putting a line through the entire season. And then you're hit with what they were hit with, where you had one rotating player for the best part of 2.5 quarters. It was a very good performance.
I'm a Fags fan, by the way. I reckon he's a real point of difference in the coaching ranks.
Yep. Yeah, no, he's great. But Dimmer Hardwick he must be really angry. Was he angry afterwards, or was he?
We'll go there now. He was. I mean, the wins they've had, Hughesy, to the sort of conversation we had a moment ago: Richmond, Adelaide, Hawthorn, and West Coast. So
all at home.
All at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. North Melbourne's coming up, so yeah. In I think Darwin on the weekend upcoming. So they'll probably end up with 5 wins after the first 9 games, and it's probably where they're at. But they just don't beat teams above them on the ladder in a regular way. Sydney, love what they did against GWS. One of the great peculiarities this year is how they lost to Richmond back in round 5, but they did. Rampy returned after some injury. I thought he was outstanding. The coaches acknowledged that in the votes that have just been released, but they gave a resounding 10 out of the possible 10 to Chad Warner's game. The usual suspects were also prominent in Heaney, and Grundy's having a great year. He might be, as he has been before twice, a All-Australian ruckman with Max Gawn. I feel he has become is the second best ruckman to Gawn already this season. He just needs to maintain it. Hayward's 4 goals in that win were another good performance. Zachy Merrett, Jim, we've talked about him a bit. 3 goals against West Coast. They needed him to perform to that level. Because
and
that
I think
game
Brad
got away
Scott's making him play a much better brand of footy, by the way. All that stuff running around the back and kicking sideways and backwards, and he drew the ire of footy people because of the way he was playing. I love Zach Merrett as a bloke, by the way. I reckon he's a ripper. But I reckon Brad's got him playing much more direct, straight out of stoppage, taking the ball forward. His metres gained are up on what it was before.
And kicking goals.
That
are required to win.
He's in All-Australian form, there's no question.
Also, Essendon, that's a good win over there. Yeah. So they are, and the draw against Collingwood's looking better and better. The Bombers are in a really good place.
They had that really bad match 4 weeks ago against Port Adelaide, but they've been excellent since. They've used it, they've drawn on it.
Break Purple. Have you still got something? You're teasing something?
We are going to tease it. It's a big name that has tried to take you down today.
That wouldn't.
This will,
and you've tried to take him down the previous week, and we're going to get there soon, Jim. We've got the audio loaded. Audio loaded.
We need a response from you, JB, because this will lead news.com. This definitely will.
I just need to know what it is first, and then I can give a response.
Hughesy, we in the media love a feud, don't we? Well, I certainly do anyway, on the journalistic side of it.
Yeah,
and I raise that because I think we've now got one right in front of us involving one of our own, James Brayshaw.
In the schoolyard, when you hear there's a fight, you gather around and you go fight.
So quick quick set up to this one. Which
The
we're going to
interesting
get another
bit of this
chapter
feud
of.
is I don't know what you're about to play.
you're
so
about to, Jim.
I'm not involved in a feud that I'm involved in.
Ed said some things about your club, your North Melbourne Football Club, of which you were chairman of for 9 seasons, and safe.
10, yes.
That you didn't like. 10, sorry, I undersold you there. That you didn't like. And you had just a little go back at him on Talking Footy last week when you said, name him, Ed, when you say people are saying North Melbourne should go out of the competition.
Presidents.
Now, I thought it was a good response. Ed, though, today he does a podcast with Jimmy Bartell, and it's unfolded this way.
So James Brayshaw, he was quite...
defensive, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a little bit angered.
They are a club that has at least twice, and I think 3 times, tried to get a merger up. They have changed their name away from North Melbourne. They have had unsuccessful forays into Canberra, into Sydney, turned it back on the Gold Coast, and into Tasmania. So at some stage, the competition says, enough with the no, and give me a yes somewhere where you're actually going to say, yes, I will cook dinner. There are plenty of presidents of clubs who do not want 19 teams.
He wants you to name names.
I'm not going to name names. Because
I have to ask the question.
do I agree with them? No. Have I argued against them? Yes.
Oh.
So my point is, and it's not just Ed, Garrow loves doing it too. They just have this catch-all phrase of, well, I've spoken to presidents. And once you say that sentence, you can then say whatever you want because you don't have to prove that you've spoken to anybody.
Look at his body language here.
So all I say,
Look at Jim.
Same as what I say to Caro and anyone else that used that sentence is, name them, Bob.
What about...
As the great Sam Newman used to tell us that story about Bob Morrow in the Geelong rooms. Name them. Just put a name to them. So if there's a
Brayshaw versus McGuire,
if there's a president that doesn't want North Melbourne in the competition, just tell us who it is.
Well,
because I guarantee you, before I
hear
finish on this, I guarantee you, if they do give that person's name out, and then Mitchie Cleary, our man, the Maasai Warrior, wanders up with a camera and a microphone and says, my understanding is you don't want North, but they would go, oh, no, that wasn't me that said that.
But Ed did say then he doesn't agree with these presidents who want North Melbourne to merge or relocate.
No,
Do you believe that Ed...
Yes.
You believe...
I always thought Ed was very pro the Melbourne clubs.
So you
And
think
so
that
I
Ed does want North Melbourne to stay in North Melbourne?
Absolutely. No, I have no issue with Ed on that front. All I do is, the only issue I have with anyone is this sentence of I know presidents. Well, who are they, Purple?
Look, I get myself in those conversations too, but I know what you're saying, that there would not be one person prepared to put his or her name to the death of a football club. We went down that path in 1996.
And the AFL Commission and the administration have said ever since that will never happen again.
They have said
While
that.
we have the money we've got in the game, there is no chance we'll allow an establishment club not to exist.
And also North Melbourne, they don't have debt. Is that fair
No
to say?
debt.
No
Debt
debt.
free.
Jim got rid of that.
No,
And
it's good.
there's
They're-
other clubs, we don't have to name them, there's other clubs who do have debt.
Oh, some have got a hell
St
of a
Kilda's
lot
got
of
a horrendous
Oh, I
debt,
wouldn't
if you want to
We
name
can
them.
name them.
I'll name them. Name them, Bob.
Hang on, Bob. Damo's happy to name it. Anyway, we move on from that. You know as well as I do that Ed and I don't have any issue, but I like to just keep people.
I did see your body language, though.
keeping
Just
people
stiffen up.
honest.
Your body just went really tight.
Oh, yeah.
People
There's
a little
veins.
honest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Veins in your neck I hadn't seen
I
before.
like it. Good.
I liked it too. Yeah.
Righto.
But
I'll
over
tell you
you,
who's
Ed,
going
we
well.
might do it on Wednesday night, Ed.
I'll tell you who's going well. Yeah, better than people are giving them credit for is Fremantle.
Yeah.
They had that one horror show against West Coast.
Yes.
But the other 7 games they've played, they lost 2
Yeah.
by tiny margins
Yeah.
in Adelaide. They've won the other, 5 or 6. I reckon they're going very nicely.
And the 2 prior to that game against West Coast were matches they probably could and should
Yep.
have won against Port
On the
Adelaide
road
and
and
Carlton.
Carlton, yep.
And they had the luck of the draw go against them in those games.
I like what
Then
they're doing.
Yeah, Hayden Young was a key part of what
very
they did
good.
on the weekend. And their forward lines had a lot of criticism, and it's valid, but Jai Amos is going to be a star.
And Dick Tracy, my man.
I was going to say, Josh Tracy's the one who's really
Good.
given it some stability.
I
So
like them.
nicely done. Let's go to the Hawthorn story too.
Yes.
We mentioned, we have referenced James Sicily's role. He got his
he's
shoulder
getting to that
popped out of
second
its socket.
half.
Mate, I was there when his shoulder popped out,
Yeah.
and I did not think we were going to see him again.
Maybe for the year.
But he was off for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Then he
we're
came
gonna
back on. He got his head hit, and then his ankle was jarred up. He was limping around. He then asked Sam Mitchell to go forward in the last quarter. Had a very, very good conversation with Blake Hardwick, who he swapped roles with effectively.
Yep.
Went down, took the mark,
Oh,
and
yeah.
kicked a key goal. But equally big story out of the game was the selection of Calsher Dear, who was the son of Paul Dear, 1991 Norm Smith
Norm Smith
medalist,
medalist,
and for a person who passed away some years ago. Now, his wife, Cherie, and Calsher's mother, Cherie, runs Dare to Hope as part of that cause, and then spoke post-match after Calsher had kicked 2 key goals in this big win.
How was your emotion and I guess the level of pride that you have being up there in the stands and watching your boy do what, of course, your great husband did as well?
Oh, look, I'm not often speechless, but I really was, and very emotional after seeing the first goal and just really wishing Paul could have been here to see it as well. But I can say that now that he's had the game. I didn't want him to feel upset beforehand about that. But yeah, it's a really emotional day. But I'm so proud of your mental composure, Calsh, to be able to go out there and do that in your first game. It's a lot of pressure on young shoulders. But I think you're just like Dad, with your mental toughness and just ability to, just take things on your shoulders and do your best.
Isn't that beautiful too? And Abby Holmes there on Triple M Footy with that interview.
Job.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I know Cherie, and I've had a little bit to do with the charity, and I was texting her from the ground, and I videoed the moment he kicked his goal,
Wow.
and she's gone back. Pretty good start, hey?
Well, the one he kicked it was the last quarter, wasn't it? Or,
he kicked one earlier.
One earlier, and the long bomb from to again keep them in front. It was a great, because they wanted to initially bring him into the game with either Mitch Lewis or maybe a Chol there, but they both were unavailable. They had to expose him in a very, very big way, and he stood right up.
Jake Waterman, as we let you go, has turned into Peter Sumich.
I'm going with Fraser Gehrig.
Fraser Gehrig.
I think he looks the same, and is starting to play nearly as well as him. Yeah,
Get into a key forward.
It's unbelievable.
Nuts.
It's unbelievable because he was in hospital this time last year with a doubt as to whether he'd play the game again, let alone come back this year and become a key part of what is a significant resurgence of a formerly mighty club wanting to be there again.
He's a good friend of my third nephew on Mark's side who reckons he's one of the all-time great blokes too, Jake Waterman. So I'm very pleased for him. Well done, Purple.
Thanks, Jim.
Good seeing you.
I've spoken to presidents. They reckon triple threat Damo every week.
Every week. Triple threat. I like it.